Hey everybody, it's me, Jake from Jakin.Off. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. This is it. It's the one you guys have all been waiting for. The big extravaganza. We went to the Missouri Libertarian Party Convention. We learned what was going on, and we cleansed our minds. Guys, it was such a great time. We talked to some real characters, and yet again, we were joined by a very funny comedian, very good friend of mine. Give it up for Carlos Chamon, everybody. Let him hear it. Carlos, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You can follow him on Instagram at just Carlos Chamon. And make sure you check out the Fountain City Comedy Festival here in Kansas City. It's coming up soon, guys. This fall. We love it. I'll be there. I'll be square. And and it's going to be good. So make sure you check that out if you're in the area. As always, you can follow this podcast at Jakin.Off.Podcast. And you can send anything at all to Jakin.Off.Podcast at gmail.com. I'll look at it at least once. So that's our guarantee. That's the guarantee of the pod. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, and have a good listen to the episode. Enjoy the episode.
Oh, won't you take off with me? Oh, I know it's your fantasy. Oh, won't you take off with me? Yeah, we're taking off every week.
I'm in. I'm sold, dude.
Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to play it twice. Whoa.
Yeah, just run it back, dude.
Dude, so that just kind of gives you, I figured that would be good to start you off with, because it gives you at least a little sort of look at the actual physical space that we were in.
Yeah, fucking
Like some log cabin-ass.
with the antlers and the fucking
We were in St. Joe, and we'll talk about it later. One of the people that we interviewed, like after we turned off the camera, he was like, you know, I came here with my daughter. My daughter came here with me. She's from California. And we could just not get over how beautiful the architecture is in this building. It's like
in the Stony Creek fucking conference center thing.
Yeah. The only architecture that he means is like, you know, the door frames are made out of fake real logs. Like, you know what I mean? They are meant to look like real logs, or there's a chandelier made out of moose antlers or something like that.
Dude, I bet the Rainforest Cafe blew his fucking mind. Dude. He was like, you can do that? Like, that's crazy.
I have some other pictures to show you that I think are good representations. So here is just a picture of what the room looked like.
Is that full attendance?
This is when we got there. It got worse as the day went on. So like you can see, dude, like we were by far the youngest people at the Missouri Libertarian Party Convention of 2025. And
very quiet.
Very white. Not a lot of ladies.
I was going to say there's one, I think, right there, but that's it. And
we're going to get into it because somebody was counting. And you can see Brett right here standing in between everybody, which we'll also get to in a minute, because the way that this whole thing transpired was insane, dude. So as we talked about last time, we were doing some research. We were looking it up because we were going to the Missouri Libertarian Party Convention 2025. It happened on May 17th at the Stony Creek Convention Center in St. Joe, which is attached to the Stony Creek Hotel. Beautiful architecture.
Beautiful.
The architecture is amazing. My daughter from California is there. She thought it was incredible. She was like, "Are those real moose antlers?"
Oh my God.
Okay, so yeah, just beautiful architecture. So here's something that's important to know about this before we dive completely in. Is that I had seen this event. I had found out about this event, that it was happening in St. Joe a few months ago, and immediately I registered to go. It gave you the option you could either register and pay $50, and I think that would make you like able to like vote on some of this shit or whatever, which would have honestly, like, if I would have understood that would have been even funnier to do.
Join the Libertarian Party.
To actually join the party and be like, no, dude, why would we do that?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. What are you thinking out there, guys?
Yeah, dude. No,
Come
gonna
on.
have your Gary Johnson moment where everyone's going to boo you and be like, what? I'm right.
Yeah, he wants to regulate your toaster. No, but, there's no information.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just says that it says that the conference begins at like noon on Friday the 16th and goes until like midnight on Saturday the 17th. And it's like, well, that's not right.
Yeah,
that can't be true. That's not right. There has to be like somebody showing up to speak. Somebody,
Right.
None of the information is available online, dude. And that is like a huge sort of, what do they call it, Brett? When you're
rolling the dice.
It's not rolling the dice. I
Gamble?
think that it's a like when you're sort of alluding to something that's going to happen in the future.
Oh, you're foreshadowing.
Yes, the literary device of foreshadowing. Thank you, Brett. That's huge foreshadowing to what is going to happen, because there's no information online. There's nothing. It's impossible to figure out. I had to email Carlos. I had to email into the info at Missouri Libertarian Party dot whatever the fuck to be, and I was like, hey, what time does this start?
Right.
Like, what time does this event start? Like, I can't find any information. I want to know. And the guy was like, oh, okay, well, like on Friday night, it's just like the mixer. That's where everybody, a lot of people, like, we haven't seen each other in like a few years at this point or something like that. And so that's usually the night we get together and like socialize and network. And then Saturday is the day where they have speakers. And also, one of the things that I think I knew that this was probably going to happen. I don't know if you necessarily knew that this was going to happen, Brett, where they're sort of litigating the logistics of how their party is going to function.
That's what you should be expecting at a convention, but I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
No.
So the majority of this day was these guys like in there arguing about the rules and regulations of their party that's seeking to remove the rules and regulations.
Yes.
Like, it's very
rules.
sort of, and I get it. They have to like operate within the framework that we got. Like, I'm sure that a lot of them find it repulsive or whatever, but it is funny. It is funny to see it in action, dude. Like,
yeah, and I'll tell you when we get to that part. I'll tell you what my experience of overhearing these conversations were.
Yeah. So we went out there. We drove out there because we figured, dude, look, I'm not trying to ruin everybody's like reunion on Friday night and show up and be like, hey, it's me, Jake from Jakin.Off. And I got some questions for you about the Libertarian Party, Missouri. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to like fucking, and frankly, dude, I don't really care about that. Like, I don't want to go hang out at a bar with
Libertarians.
Dude, I barely want to go out. I barely want to go hang out at a bar with people that I know and love, let alone a bunch of Shrek head motherfuckers, dude. We kept calling them, because specifically this one guy over here, I'll kind of pan over to him. Let me see. This guy, dude, this is a Ben Franklin ass motherfucker if I have ever seen one, dude.
Libertarian Santa Claus, dude. Fucking.
He's got a bald head and really long hair. And there's another Ben Franklin looking guy over here too, in the right side of this picture. It's like the picture is bookended by guys who have Ben Franklin head, is what we were referring to it the entire day.
Wait, there's something literary there, because wasn't Ben Franklin a libertarian? Did we talk about that last time, or did I just make that up?
I don't know that Ben Franklin would necessarily. I mean, like, I think that all those guys were kind of libertarians to
In
a
a way,
certain
so to
extent.
speak, sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I mean, obviously, it's like the 1700s.
So it's a total different
maybe
libertarian.
it's
yeah.
not totally different, but there's a lot of differences, you know,
yeah.
just in the entire world. And
It's not a
and so
monolith.
it's hard to completely say whether Ben Franklin would be like considered a libertarian by modern standards. I mean, he created the post office, so the libertarians hate the post office.
That's true. Yeah. How dare he?
So I don't know that he would be, but that just gives you a little idea of what else was in there. I took some other pretty telling photographs. I'd like to show those to you now. So this next one, I captured secretly in the bathroom. And if you're ever wondering what the toilet at a libertarian convention looks like, this is it, dude. So I'll go ahead and zoom in here, but there is poop
Jesus Christ.
all over the toilet seat, dude. There is no way to sit on this thing without sitting in a bunch of poop.
How do you like if you're overweight,
Somebody
I kind of get
shit
it. But
all over
like,
the
how do you
toilet seat.
smear fucking
Poop all over the place, dude.
But you know
All
what?
over where you're
As
fucking-
libertarians, that's their right.
Yeah,
to
dude.
shit where they want to shit.
They're like, look, I just shit free or die, brother. Shit free or die. Yeah, no, dude. They I was going in there at the very end of the day, dude. I was like, no, it was before we went to lunch.
I think we should back up and hit the timeline.
Yeah,
of
you're right. You're right.
How we rolled up.
Yeah,
Because finish it off.
yeah. So what happened is I'm just so giddy because it was such a hilarious time.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what to expect, right? I was telling you, like, there was no information. We couldn't find anything. I had to email the guy. And so then we decided, okay, Saturday is going to be the day to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what time this thing is actually going to get started, but I know that I don't want to be there from sunup to sundown.
Right. Yeah.
We also,
Definitely not while it's sundown, for sure. Yeah.
yeah. Then that's when the Ron Paul comes out. That's when the Ron Paul comes out, and they're like, I might just have to shoot somebody.
Yeah. Come on.
No, but exactly. And so we were thinking, like, okay, we'll get there at noon, and then it'll be over. But like, we'll leave latest. I have to pick up Jenny from work, so latest, like, we got a hard out at like 6:30, you know. And we're thinking that's gonna be good. So we show up, we whip up into the parking lot, dude. We walk in, and they're like in the middle of something. It's not immediately clear to us right away because we're walking in, and everybody's staring at us.
Right. Yeah. Because they don't know you.
And we're also the youngest people in there by eons,
at least
dude.
7 or 8 years
like,
to the first goalpost.
Yeah. All of them, like, I would say 90% of the people there are over the age of 65.
Yep.
I don't think that that's a crazy, like, thing to
It's not
say.
hyperbole.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere
That's
close
at least
to
the
that.
average, I would say.
Yeah, 65. And so it was weird because they were staring at us. And so we walk in, and right inside the door of the convention center, there's a guy with like a video camera. Like, it's like a professional looking ass, like,
It's a
news camera.
4K. Oh, sorry. 4K.
Yeah, Brett gets a little excited about cameras, dude.
Sorry. I'll have to reduce. It was like a 4K Panasonic, and he was live streaming the whole thing to their Facebook page, I
To
believe.
YouTube is what they said. So they're live streaming the whole thing. This guy, he's like you can tell he like used to be jacked or something, like, and now he's just kind of older and divorced, probably, I have to imagine. I'm making a lot of assumptions, but that's just
He
the vibe of
listens
this
to
guy.
Seether.
Context
Yeah.
clues, I would agree.
We
Yeah.
ended up sort of like hanging out a little bit with this guy because we were just standing over by him. But we walk in, nobody has said anything to any of us, and then that guy behind the camera goes, "This guy's got a camera," and starts yelling, "This guy's got a camera." He goes, "Is that a camera bag?" And he goes, "This guy's got a camera right here." this guy's got a camera, and we're thinking like, oh shit, dude, this is not
We're
what I
fucked.
thought was going to happen immediately. But it turned out to be such a blessing in disguise, because what it turned out was happening is that they were in the middle of their award ceremony, or they were about to begin their award ceremony, and they realized that nobody there had brought a camera to take pictures of the event at all. So they have no photographer. They just have this guy live streaming it to YouTube. They have nobody to take pictures. There's like no, these guys aren't thinking of the most basic
shit. Yeah.
Shit that you could think of for an event that is, political in nature, and like, it's crazy.
It should be
like,
organized.
It doesn't make
yeah.
dude. Like, have you guys ever heard about propaganda at all? Like, what is this? You guys are fucking up. And so what ended up happening is that they were like, well, this guy will take pictures for us. And I was like, yeah, Brett, go take
Did
pictures
you get paid?
for him, Brett.
Fuck no.
Dude, they just immediately exploited Brett's labor, like every libertarian would do. They were like, well,
it's their rights. Come on.
They're like, Brett, do you accept Bitcoin for payment?
No, only raw silver.
He was like, only Shiba. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
What's funny is on the way back, I was like, I should put a big ass obnoxious watermark on them,
That's
send them
literally
off,
what I was gonna
and then
say,
be like $50 a piece if you want them.
Yeah, no,
removed.
you gotta have like the most like you should have like USPS as the watermark or something like that, so they have to like witness.
Oh, damn, bro, all these pictures are sideways.
Oh shit, my bad.
No, it's okay.
Wait,
Hold
so
on.
what awards are they giving though? Like most
libertarians.
Dude,
Yeah,
just
like-
wait until you see some of these guys. God, I wish we could see them.
You did capture audio for the award ceremony, but because I was shooting pictures, we did not have any video.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure if we pulled it from their
if there's any
live stream-
animators in the Jakin.Off community, just animate the Libertarian Convention, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the clip's like 6 minutes long. It's going to be like a year and a half of work or something.
Not on Flash, you know.
Oh, perfect. We'll have some elevator music until we get...
Yeah.
There's some particular boys I want you to see. Because dude, it was just so funny. They were like, well, you'll take the pictures, right? And I was like, yeah, Brett, won't you? I did pressure Brett into doing it a little bit.
I
think
it
you
gained
also
trust.
Yeah,
with
I think
them.
we also both recognized this is how we have to.
That's your in.
Yeah.
This is how we have to do it, because otherwise they're gonna know that we're fucking outsiders, dude. They're gonna know, and I think by the end they'd kind of
They figured it out.
like,
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
We'll fix this with the magic of editing. I should have had these open first. So last time we talked about the Mises Caucus. You'll remember that, and how they kind of just like took over and sort of just magnified the Libertarian Party, and that really is like sort of we didn't know that going in, right? Like we had not. I hadn't figured that out yet. I didn't know about that aspect of it. The only research that I had done is the stuff that I presented to you in the previous episode about Ron Paul and like
that kind
of stuff. Some shit that I already knew, right? But I didn't know the late happenings with like the Mises Caucus and these guys sort of taking over the Libertarian Party on a national level. Look at this bad boy.
That's a girthy boy.
Hold on. There's a couple of other guys. Yeah, Ben Franklin got an award. They said, look, even though you created the post office, we're still
willing to look it over. He's a champion of freedom.
Yeah, he's a 2025 champion of freedom. And he championed that by giving everybody their mail. This guy is also like a total libertarian look to him. He's just like
Good old Donald.
Yep. He looks like a fucking axe murderer.
Dude, what? Yeah. That
He looks like a homeless guy.
Oh my god! Yeah,
Which, to
they
be
just found him on
fair,
the street. They're like, we have an award to give. We got to
Yeah.
give it to this guy.
they're like, hey, sir, hey, homeless guy, do you believe in low taxes? And he's like, hell yeah. And they're like, get on in here, dude.
You're a champion of freedom now,
They're like,
brother.
how would you like some free tacos from a taco bar?
Yeah, that's what their lunch was. When we walked in, there was a taco
They
bar.
have tacos.
It was
dude.
this award ceremony was at the end of their white people taco lunch. I need to
dude. No
much.
sneeze guards. Just saying, everybody's coughing into the food.
Dog, yeah.
Well,
sneeze
you wanna
guards,
regulate
there's
their
much
tacos?
regulation.
There's a foodborne illness outbreak that is going to start at the Missouri Libertarian Party
Convention, yes.
Convention. They're going to be like, they all ate horse meat. They bought it from an unregulated vendor, and now they've all been poisoned with horse. They all have horse flu.
That's the zombie movie. Is the libertarian zombies that ate bad taco meat?
So yeah, dude. So exactly though. I mean, it's a fucking shit show the second we show up. They don't even have a cameraman. The fact that we walk in there with a camera is an act of God to these people.
One of
They're
those
like, this
people
is-
prayed for me to
Yeah.
show up.
They were
Yeah.
like, please let these two nerds come in with cameras and help us out.
So it was really funny. They immediately exploited Brett's labor just like any libertarian would. And we got to business, dude. We started watching. The first guy who talked, so again, just to relate this back, this entire party has been sort of turned into an offshoot of the Republican Party. Donald Trump spoke at their national convention in 2024, leading up to the presidential election. That wasn't their nominee, but I mean, it's really saying something if a guy who already is
from a different
party,
Yeah.
like has the nomination on lock at that party, can't even be nominated by your party, but is still coming to speak at your shit.
Yeah.
Like, you guys have sort of entered into a new territory, which is like, you're not so much a third party as you are like
a splinter.
like Republican Party B.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that was exactly what we encountered at this place. So the first guy who spoke, his name is Patrick Tuohy, and that is spelled Tuohey. And he works for, this is his little baby. It's called the Better Cities Project. But what he also works for is a place called the Show Me Institute, which is like Koch brothers funded. Which, to be fair, they fund a lot of libertarian, air quotes around libertarian. They fund a lot of libertarian stuff. So he gave a speech that was he gave a presentation, really, which the fact that it was a presentation threw a wrench into the entire operation. The second that he was like, "Oh, I have some slides to put on the projector," they were like, I don't know.
How do we do this? Yeah.
Dude, it took
it was like 8 or 9 minutes.
Seriously,
I have it all on video. Jake recorded
him
Idiots
trying
just
to.
like, how do you?
This guy stepped out from behind the podium and told a little story about how he was like, I used to be a teacher, and one time I needed help from something with technology from my kids, and that's how I knew I was officially had become an old person. Or something like that, and everybody was like, because they're all like a million years old.
Couldn't relate to anything more in my life.
Yeah,
Why is Roku so difficult?
It fucking crushed so hard.
I can't escape Roku City.
He's like, and that's why if you've sent me an email, I haven't responded. But yeah, they're trying to get this guy's fucking PowerPoint presentation to go up into the projector, and it's not, they like can't get it to work, dude. At one point it's up there, but there's just like a smaller version of it covering like a quarter of the screen. So every slide, it's like the slide, but with a part of it is covering the slide, and it's just a smaller version of the slide that you can't read.
And I bet that smaller version also had a smaller version.
Dude,
in the corner,
eventually
and
it did. It became like this. Like, I'm serious. It was
optical
so
illusion of
wild.
libertarianism.
It didn't make any. They could not figure it out. And this guy who's running the camera, was such a character, dude, because he told me, he's like, I'm part of the party. Like, I'm on the leadership or whatever, but all he did was walk back and forth to and from behind the camera, and like every time he'd walk by, he'd like roll his eyes, like to me, like sort of like shitting on the other guys he's hanging out with, like being like, yeah, dude, ugh, like they don't know shit. God, it's so annoying, you know. Which like they probably like he probably doesn't like them or something.
Oh,
you
the
know
party
what I mean?
he's a part of.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's an OG
He's just,
libertarian,
like,
you know.
He's like rolling his eyes at these guys, but I think it's because the guys who are in charge are fucking nerds, and this guy doesn't perceive himself as a nerd.
Right.
I think that's like really, it's like got like it was very jock coded, like
Yeah, like look at these fucking
this
idiots.
guy was acting like a total football player, dude. He's like, he kept rolling his eyes at me like, God, I wish I could stuff these guys in a locker, right? Like, that's how the camera guy was acting, but he had to keep going back and forth trying to help them get this guy's PowerPoint presentation onto the screen. It took him fucking forever. And then they finally got it up, and this guy just gave this presentation. And frankly, dude, it's one of those things where this is how you know this guy probably gets paid good money for being an operative, because it's slick, right? Like he's saying a bunch of stuff that any reasonable person would listen to and agree with, and he's giving a lot of good evidence to back it up, but he's not saying the other end of like what his underpinning ideology is, right?
Right.
So he talked a lot about the baseball stadium and how the policy that cities have of funding these giant stadiums, it's bad public policy. I think that it's something that I completely agree with. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't actually bring the community money. It's not a good investment. The reason why these guys want to get money from a city to build a new stadium is because they know it's not a good investment. Like, and they can't actually make money off of it if they don't get it subsidized by taxpayers. That was the crux of what he was saying for a large part of his speech. He talked about some zoning laws and things of that nature too. He was saying stuff that a lot of people would be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like we should have more mixed use zoning. Like that could help alleviate some of the pressure we feel with like housing and things of that nature. Like that could help it out. But like what he's not saying in his speech, because he knows that it's like kind of unpopular if he said, is that the reason why he doesn't think that it's these cities' place to be able to affect the market in that way, to give somebody billions of dollars to build a stadium or something like that. He doesn't think that they should have that ability because he believes in like laissez-faire economics. He wants no regulation at all. He touched on regulation. He talked about, all the red tape from when you build a house. You know, I can't put asbestos in my house anymore. Like that's like, he didn't say that exactly.
No, but that's what
like,
he was,
that's the end
sentiment.
result of like what this guy would do, right? Is like, we can put some shit in your house that, hey, it actually might be bad for you, but it's a lot cheaper for me, the guy building your house.
To make lead pipes,
Exactly. And so it's just kind of like a little sleight of hand. And we're going to play a clip because I talked to this guy afterwards. He writes some articles for the Kansas City Star, stuff like that. But
he's a total plant.
Yeah, he's a total plant, dude. And he even admitted to us, he's like, well, I'm not a libertarian. Right? So like he's at
it was like the first response to the first question.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first response to the first
Okay, my
question.
bad.
It was later in the discussion, because we started talking about the baseball stadium and stuff like that. And to be fair, I could have done a better job of asking this guy questions, but I had never done anything like this before. It was my first time. I also didn't know who he was or like that he was even going to be there.
Yeah.
Because of I love that. I keep leaving this
I know,
fucking
every time I turn, he's like
scary
looking at me.
looking fucking guy. But I didn't know he was going to be there. You know what I mean? So, I think that I could have done a better job with that. But all things considered, it was pretty, it was pretty funny that he was like, I'm not a libertarian. So here's a clip of, me asking him a question. And the question that I'm asking him is, and I asked everybody a sort of version of this throughout the day, is like right now in Missouri. So this is the Missouri Libertarian Party. One of the things that's happening right now in Missouri is we in this state voted to enshrine abortion rights into the Constitution. And we also voted to pass a change of statute to raise the minimum wage and force employers to, and I do mean force, to force employers to give people mandatory paid sick leave. I believe it's like 9 hours of mandatory paid sick leave. It's like some like meager.
Yeah, you
it's
get
like
1 day off.
You could maybe, if you work part-time, 2 days, but then get back to work, even if you're sick. Even if you're going to get everybody sick, get back to work. Yeah. So I asked everybody about this. And my question that I was sort of posing here and that I was trying to get him to answer was, don't you think that it's going to be a problem for eventually? Like if this keeps happening, not just in Missouri, but other places, right? Like the states keep overruling the will of the people, which they're given the right to do, as he points out, which is kind of my point. Like, that's the problem, right? That's the root of it. Federalism, we've talked about it on this podcast before. States keep overturning people's desires on these issues is going to fundamentally impact democracy in our country, because people are going to go, this really isn't working.
Yeah, I keep voting and they keep saying no. Yeah.
Didn't we already vote on this abortion thing already? Why am I voting on it again and again and again and again? Because these guys don't actually believe in democracy. And that's never a word that you hear any of them use, really. But here is his response to that sort of line of questioning, which I could have done a better job at asking him.
Well, I can't speak for libertarians, because I'm not myself.
Nice.
Yeah, right at the beginning. You got it turned up now, Brett.
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak for libertarians, because I'm not myself a libertarian.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
But so yes, the people put something on the ballot and they vote for it. And the legislature, made up of people, also voted into office. There's that back and forth, and there's going to be tension. And some people can say, well, there ought not be that tension, but I'm like, look, this is democracy. And so maybe if activists vote for A, and the legislature comes along and says, we don't want that, the activists are more than willing, more than able, I should say, to go through and change those legislators. It's the boil of politics, and it looks messy and it seems slow, but it is, as Churchill said, better than everything else.
So here's the problem with this is that it becomes really hard to change legislators and to get for these activists, quote unquote activists,
not civilians or citizens.
Yeah, they're not citizens. It's not your mom going to vote to make sure that her daughter can still get an abortion.
Right? No,
she's an activist. It's your mother, the activist. People wear many hats. People wear many hats. And if you vote for abortion rights, you're an activist.
Yeah, dude.
I don't think that that's actually what he's saying, but I'm joking with that. But ultimately, what he is,
it's the dog whistle. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that it's certainly like a way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I ultimately though, this sort of underscores the whole thing, right? Like gerrymandering, all these things that make it impossible for legislative victories in these places by people who, they're not libertarians. This guy's a conservative.
Right.
He's a conservative. So the slow boil of politics is awesome for him because he's not trying to do anything. He wants to keep things how they are, or even worse, go backwards in time.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exploit the system in place to...
Yeah, so he doesn't need to make a case for why it's bad for democracy. He doesn't even need to think about that because he doesn't even really believe in democracy to begin with. He believes in federalist, like republic,
authoritarianism,
ideal.
Basically.
Yeah,
that's
essentially,
the
like,
pipeline.
yep, it's the way that they really spread out the authoritarianism. They were like, what if it was 50 authoritarians?
Yeah, exactly, dude.
So that's sort of this guy. We'll let him keep yapping on, I guess. Well, yeah, we'll let him.
I have my own personal views on those things, but again, it's part of it. The people have a chance to have their say, but they also elect the legislature. They also elect the governor. Sometimes the legislature and the governor go back and forth, but they're both legitimate, popularly elected. You don't become governor and then say to the legislature, you have to do everything I say. You don't become a senator and say to the rest of the body,
can do
you have
that
to do
if you
everything
become
I
president.
say. Because we elect
Apparently,
people that are at odds with each other. We vote on amendments that are at odds with the legislature. And again, it's slow and it looks chaotic and messy, but it's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Damn, bro.
it seems
My voice was
Missouri is an
dry.
odd state in the sense that you have people going out and voting for these ballot measures. These are passing, but then at the same time, they seem to be voting for people who are wanting to uphold those ballot measures.
We have it at the federal level too.
Yeah.
So we have, we elect
Yeah, it's
Trump,
crazy.
but we also elect.
How does that keep happening?
The Democrats from California and from New York, and they agree on very little.
It's
So
like, yeah, these people
they
from
all get to play.
California keep electing these Democrats.
Yeah, dude, the assumption that it's like, yeah, we're voting for Trump, but then we're also voting for... It's like, those are not the same people.
Yeah, they're
like,
not.
It's
They
different
aren't the same
like,
people, and it's not the same.
to conflate the two, man, is so
Yeah,
disingenuous.
I just think that this guy is like a real fucking buy my monorail motherfucker, if that makes sense. Like, he showed up in a 3-piece suit, and he's got some good points. A monorail, it looks great. It sounds like a fun time.
I'm all for public
but
transportation, you know?
really, dude, yeah, he's just like he's the activist. Is sort of
yes,
like the
especially, because he's not libertarian. He's in a libertarian convention.
Yeah.
Dude, that's activism,
Yeah, he's in here impacting change at the Libertarian Party.
And he was the most overdressed person
Oh
wearing a
my
3-piece suit. We
God,
need to make a
dude,
note
it
of.
wasn't even close. He was the most handsomest guy there. It's not even close.
Wore a yellow tie and
Yeah,
the
the
yellow
tie is a
handkerchief
move.
or
like,
whatever.
very opulent.
That's the cover of the Libertarian Party.
It's yellow.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
They're
wanted
the
to
other
blend in.
primary, dude. There's red, blue, and yellow.
I want to kill myself.
Primary colors.
Fuck
I don't know.
color
if that's
theory,
why.
dude. I thought it was
That
red,
is right.
green, blue, but I guess green is blue and yellow.
Red, green, blue. Yeah, green is
Blue and
green,
yellow.
Yeah, blue and
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Green's blue and yellow, Carlos.
Yeah. Hey, I'm ESL. Okay, we don't learn colors.
Okay, coming up next though, so this was just kind of like boring, whatever. Like, this guy's not even a real libertarian. I was wanting to see the real libertarians,
Yeah.
dude, and we got a fucking full dose with these next guys. So these guys, these were the only people where I was like, you guys belong here. So I want to introduce you to my friends. This is Ned and Mary Kelly, dude. And these guys go hard as fuck. They were there talking about agorism. And what
what's
agorism
agorism?
is like basically just the non-political version of libertarianism. It's like voluntarism, where they'll kind of explain it. I'll let them explain it to you in their own words. Here's the deal. I think that these guys are kooky as hell. Like, I don't like really agree with anything that they're saying. I think it's all pretty dumb. But they fucking believe it, and they're also like really nice. They were really nice to us, and they're
great.
super funny. Yeah,
And they met at a Libertarian presidential watch party in 2016 when obviously the Libertarian
Yeah.
Party candidate was non-existent in that
right,
race.
right, yeah.
So
Oh, libertarian love.
they love it, and they're gonna sort of talk about agorism. This is a long clip, but we're gonna be stopping it frequently to talk about some of the stuff they say, and then we'll let you know where you can buy some dope ass soap. at
Soap,
the end.
He's doing video. Oh, nice. Yeah. So, thanks for talking to me. My name is Jake. My podcast is called Jakin.Off.
Jake.Off.
Jakin.Off. Yeah, you got it.
And the letter N, or how do you spell it?
Jakin.
Jakin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done, sir.
He hit it.
I know, I did.
Finally got it. He was like,
Thanks for talking to me. So unfortunately, I was out here talking to one of our other speakers during your speech, so I caught the very beginning of it. But do you guys want to tell me about agorism?
Sure do.
Yeah, definitely.
We want that more than anything.
Yeah, agorism it's like libertarianism in that it's trying to get away from the state, from control of the state over our lives, but it puts the emphasis more on how do you live that out practically in your day-to-day life? How do you interact with your neighbors? How do you engage in free trade? How do you make sure that all of your actions are voluntary? And less on the political end.
And sometimes it's referred to as voluntarism or voluntarism. We mentioned the person who coined that phrase, agorism, Samuel Edward Konkin III, SEK3, so you might want to...
SEK3.
What up, my boy,
SEK3?
SEK3?
Dude, look that guy up. Samuel Edward
3,
Compton.
bro. Come on.
SEK3. He sounds like a fucking streamer.
Edward, what was
He's
his
like
last
a
name?
Twitch streamer or something.
Konkin.
Samuel Konkin. Look up SEK3. Try SEK3.
It sounds like a droid from Star Wars.
Dude,
this is
yeah, no,
SEK3,
it's so
dude.
Oh, dog. I know y'all can't see his picture.
I can see
That looks exactly what I expected.
Great libertarian.
Welcome back,
prophet.
Stavros, right?
My
Like,
God, dude. Yeah, that guy looks like Edmund Kemper.
Oh, he's fucking Canadian too.
Oh, that's awesome.
well, no wonder he's about giving back to the community. Okay,
Yeah.
so is agorism just communism?
No, it's because
I'm about to get shot by
it's like,
libertarians for saying that.
It's like voluntarism, right? Is like living in such a way that like nothing that you're doing in is creating a coercive environment for somebody, right? Like the idea of a free market. This is the thing that I disagree with these people about fundamentally is that there is such a thing as a free market to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think that even in nature, when you're talking about, you get away from, the idea of paper money or fiat currency or whatever, that a free market exists. And, a lot of libertarians will do like these thought experiments where they're like, well, let's say you were on an island and like I had a bunch of coconuts and you had a bunch of fish, like we could trade coconuts for fish and it's a free market because neither one of us is coerced. Like we're both have equal like whatever. But the reality is, dude, is like, well, if you fish up your fishing spot, shit out of luck for you. You don't got no fish, and now I got all the coconuts, bud.
Exactly.
So now who's coercing who? How about you come over here and do a little work on my hut, buddy? You know,
you
like that's
yeah,
like so the idea that this kind of free trade that's free of any coercion can really exist, in a natural sort of situation, let alone our current like contemporary society.
Sure.
Is I find it very flimsy.
No, I agree, because I think of the same thing about like freedom, right? Especially because in America,
Yeah.
people are like freedom, but like freedom doesn't really exist because there's always this underlying belly of like you're not really free. Like even if you were alone
Yeah.
in an island, your body would be like, I'm hungry, so you're
Yeah.
not free to do what you want. You got to go eat, right? So like regardless.
Yeah, there's a naturalization element to libertarianism, and we're gonna get into this with the next lady that we're gonna talk about because she straight up says it. But we talked about it last time
With
too.
the hard R?
Yeah. She says she says it. No. But yes. She probably does, if I had to guess.
Yeah, she goes libertarianism.
Yeah, like maybe like in the shower or something like that. But like there's this inherent thing, right, with libertarians where they believe that these, rights, specifically to property and your ability to do commerce or whatever, they believe that these are inherent. These aren't things that are bestowed upon you by some government. Newsflash, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why people in other countries have different rights than us.
What?
Because they're governed by a different authority.
Yeah, ain't no such thing as a right, dude.
Yes,
That's entitled as
exactly.
fuck,
Like
dude.
nobody, like a fucking falcon when it swoops and grabs a mice or a mouse out of the field and flies away with it, and its fucking claws isn't like, man,
Am
I
I
feel
right?
bad about violating that mouse's property rights. Like
Yeah,
it's
right,
not
exactly. Or it's my right to be able to get this mouse. Like I'm allowed to.
one of the exactly though. One of the fundamental underpinnings of their belief is the assumption that these things are inherent in people. That they are things that you already have.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be given them by a government because you already have them.
Right.
It's just not the case. It's not the case, in a natural sort of order, a more natural order than the one that we live in now, and it's not the case in modern society anywhere. That's
Right.
just
Yeah,
never
no.
how it's worked. So somebody's always got a monopoly of force is what we would call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can come and make you do whatever they want, and it depends on what that is.
Yeah.
So, but they're going to talk about it a little bit more too.
Search that, look, get the roots of it. But yeah, as Mary said, it's all about, it's kind of a non-political way to go for the same goals as libertarianism.
Okay, so how would somebody go about in their day-to-day life sort of pursuing this voluntarism that you guys are talking about?
Sure. Big ways and small ways. The small ways might be hiring a neighborhood kid to mow your lawn or shovel your driveway, and paying them perhaps in cash or perhaps in something they wanted, some silver coins or something like that.
This is one of my favorite things, dude. A new theory that I've developed about libertarians is that all they are just the people who have been tricked into buying silver coins off of TV.
And they need to
And so
unload
they're
it.
trying to figure out a way to get rid of their silver coins that they've all bought.
Like, dollars are good, but
Yeah, I need to cash in my 10th anniversary of the Obama inauguration coin that I bought on TV for $50. Well, technically it was 4 payments of
4 payments. I got it on layaway, so
4 payments. What is 50 divided by 4, Brett? Go
So
ahead and do it.
$12.49 is what the steel price was. They shaved like 3 cents off,
it's a deal, dude. It's a deal.
Yeah, but that's my new theory about libertarians after attending this convention is that they all just have a bunch of silver coins at their house.
They need to
and they're
unload,
like,
dude.
God, I wish it would snow more so I could pick in to shovel my driveway with this silver coin.
That just sounds like an infomercial. What does a child want more than actual raw cash? Silver coins.
Points. Get it, dude.
It's so fucking funny, yeah. So he talks a little bit more about like that kind of stuff, and we love this. I love this guy.
Paying them perhaps in cash or perhaps in something they wanted, some silver coins or something like that, and just leaving the interaction there. Nobody else needs to know about that interaction. It doesn't need to
Not
be
his
recorded anywhere.
parents.
It doesn't need to be thefted
government.
from any other institution. And then in bigger ways, trying to participate more in what is known as parallel economies or alternative markets, whether that's through blockchain and Bitcoin or actual barter or using silver, gold backs, again, to get out of
He's
those
like, yeah, I'm paying in gold
traditional,
bars.
not so traditional institutions and governmentalized systems and into more voluntary, personal, freedom-oriented systems and networks.
Do you think that blockchain or, maybe what other people would refer to as like cryptocurrency, do you think that that has the opportunity as it stands now to sort of subvert the dominance of the dollar, I guess you could say? Just give me your thoughts on that.
I love the question. I don't think either of us would call ourselves an expert in crypto. I love the idea of Bitcoin becoming an alternative currency or an independent currency. I love the idea. I love that principle that it was kind of founded on and started on, that we all got, not all of us, but many got introduced to years ago. Bitcoin in particular may have become more of, a speculative asset, commodity.
It's not even a coin anymore.
I
dude.
wonder. Yeah, interesting. Well, if it's not a coin, then how come I can go to an ATM and get real money for it?
You got me there, brother. I need my Neopet coins to have the same kind of legitimacy as
Dude.
Bitcoin, you know?
You've heard of the multiverse, but have you heard of parallel economy verse?
That's the new
Dude,
Marvel
yeah,
hero. Is a silver coin, man.
Parallel economies is like a sort of a hilarious term to use too. It's like I feel like Bitcoin, if the dollar crashed, I don't know that Bitcoin would be doing so hot either.
No, dude,
You know
all
what I
currencies
mean?
around the world, and then especially speculative assets, dude, especially something like crypto that isn't real. Dude, people are
Yeah.
going to be like, fuck that shit, dude. Give me some silver coins. you know?
They're gonna be like, I can't pay a kid to shovel my driveway with this.
Yeah. He doesn't have a wallet? Come on.
Yeah, he doesn't have a thumb drive. He's never even seen a USB port, this kid. It's all
USB-C.
all USB-C ever since he was born.
You know, a gamble, something you might make thousands of U.S. In fiat currency on, or millions. Who knows? Does it stand the chance of becoming an alternative, usable currency that you can buy your coffee and groceries and pay that kid down the road? I don't know. I don't know, but I love it. I love people getting it. I want to encourage people to get involved in it.
I don't know it,
There's
but I love
apps and
it.
things that we're learning more about.
I'm no
so
expert,
we can,
but I think it's pretty
people
fucking
could-
tasty.
Yeah, I love it.
buy soap using alternative methods.
Soap?
Agora Garden Soap is where we sell our homemade soap.
They have homemade soap. It's called Agora Garden Soap. And yeah, dude, they do the thing, dude. Check out this soap. Here it is. They make soap. They were giving
It looks
away.
nice.
They were giving away free soap made with tallow.
Beef tallow.
Beef tallow at the.
It's beef tallow.
Beef tallow is like the new. It's like the new thing that people are doing. They love it. They think that it's like a healthier oil to sort of use to make products and stuff like that. I mean, really, it's there probably are some ways that it's better, like for certain things than other oils, and maybe those other oils are better for other things than beef tallow. You know what I mean? But I think that it's something that people. It's basically the new Alpha Brain.
So,
I don't know
so
how
this
else
is
to
like
put it,
meat
dude.
soap?
No, I think it's like instead of using like a fat or like lye or something, they use beef tallow instead.
It's like rendered animal fat soap, like made out of tallow is a type of fat.
It's like using lard instead of
Yeah.
oil for frying things. I
Interesting.
think
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's I think
honestly, dude,
RFK Jr. signed off on it. or
RFK
something.
Jr. loves beef tallow. He
Yeah.
wants McDonald's
Oh,
to
okay.
fry their fries in beef tallow. That's one of the things. But yeah, they make soap. They make soap, and they talk a little bit more about the soap. There's kind of a funny part where the lady mentions the soap.
She makes the soap.
Will you spell that out for us really quick?
Just so we
Yeah, sure. So it's Agora, Agora, Agora Garden Soap, and our website is agoragardensoap.com.
Cool. And same on Facebook.
Yeah.
So to specifically answer about Bitcoin and crypto in general, we hope so. And we want to encourage people, just like in there, we encourage people not to have to choose between libertarian politics or agorism. We think you can do both. We don't think you should have to choose between Bitcoin or gold and silver. We think you can and should explore both and many others. Forms of
If I
trading
could
currency.
speak to that a little bit more, I have had some recent personal experience with trading in Bitcoin. Very new to me. I've been a long-time hodler, of crypto, but really didn't know how to use it or how to do anything with it. And I've recently met a group of people who
holding,
routinely trade with each other.
Diamond hands.
So at least in a small scale, I'm seeing it in action like that. Whether that becomes larger, in the open market, I don't know. But I'm encouraged to see that I can meet people in my community and have that exchange of crypto.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are pro that sort of subversion via alternative currency, whether it be Bitcoin or something else. I think it would probably be helpful for what you've described as agorism here, right? Paying that kid down the road, keeping it, some people might
That
say
kid down
under
the road,
table
baby.
or whatever, but, just a regular transaction between two neighbors is the way I think that most
You
people would
already
see it,
can
right?
do that.
What do you think the
Right,
biggest
no,
hurdle to
exactly.
that
Already do it.
happening is?
Obedience training in
I stepped on my question here a little bit, but I asked him what he thinks
That
is
sort of subversion
stopping-
via alternative
government public schools. We learn from from childhood.
or whatever, but, just a regular transaction between two neighbors is the way I think that most people would see it, right? What do you think the biggest hurdle to that happening is?
Obedience training in government public schools. We learn from from childhood.
Indoctrination.
That you're not supposed to step out of
I
line
think it's
if you're
critical
doing
race
something that seems weird or
I think
different.
the critical
then-
race theory
then
is making these
you
kids
must be
not
wrong.
want my
You must
silver
be punished.
coin.
So,
No,
in
everyone
broad
loved silver
strokes,
till George
that's the
Floyd
biggest
died.
hurdle, is people are
Then they were like,
conditioned
"Not
to
anymore."
obey.
Yeah.
We have so much
Black
power
Lives
without
Matter.
even
How about
realizing it.
Goldback Lives Matter?
And then, in general, it just not knowing where to go, not knowing where to turn, what to do. How do I get involved? Well, that's why we have this group, and networking is to scare our share our skills with each other,
What
and
a
scare the
Freudian
shills.
slip.
We want to scare the shills by sharing our skills.
Yeah,
There you go.
Scare the shills by sharing our skills, dude.
the shills.
We want to scare the shills by sharing our skills.
Yeah.
There you go.
She's so proud of herself
Dude,
for
I
that one.
fucking
dude.
love that shit,
Elaborate on
though,
what
but
you're
they should have
saying.
scared that guy
An
that was
example
speaking before you.
of that compliance,
like,
that
Get
instinct
outta
to try to comply or to think that there's a rule that I need to follow is since I've been making the soap. I've been in these online groups of people who are soap
Since I've
makers and
been
people who
making
are
the
new
soap.
will often come in and say, what rules do I...
Since I've been making the soap is like such a funny origin story. Since I've been making the soap, I've began to
My
realize that this is all a facade. You can just make soap.
I should be allowed to make soap and pay a kid down the road.
Look, I want to pay the kid in silver dollars and soap, and I want to wash the boy.
Let me wash
I
the
want to
boy.
wash. Hey, look, I pay the kid a silver coin to let me give him a bath. And his parents don't have to know.
That's why the government needs out. Children can consent if they get a silver coin.
They're like, look, why can't I, a reasonable, voluntary transaction with a kid,
With a
let me
child.
give him a bath, I'll give him a silver coin, his parents don't have to know. What's the big deal?
Let me share my beef tallow, dude.
Look, the soap's made of tallow. It's not going to hurt the kid. I'm going to hurt the kid.
And that's my right, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, these guys, this is who I was imagining it was going to be. I was like thinking it was going to be more of these guys there, you know?
Right, yeah.
More beef tallow soap and Bitcoin and scaring shills with our skills. And not some guy in a 3-piece suit being like, hey, you want to buy? You kids want to buy a thing about taxes? Huh?
Will often come in and say, what rules do I need to know? What things from the government and licenses do I need to do? And, sometimes I get in trouble for responding the way that I do because I'm like, don't ask that question. Don't ask that. You shouldn't. That's the wrong question to be asking. You should go out, do things voluntarily, and if somebody challenges you on that, even if it's a government entity, challenge them back.
Yeah.
Challenge them and say, I have a right to do this. And realize that it is your right to make money, to
Quiet
trade with
people.
your neighbors, to trade with anybody, without...
That's the whitest shit I ever heard. Is like,
Yeah.
hey, you should break the law, and then if the
Yeah.
government comes and challenges
Yeah.
you, you should fight back.
She's like, well, you just explained to him that the soap is made of tallow and it's not going to hurt the kid. if you just explain to the cops, no, I gave him a silver coin with Donald Trump on it.
It's all good. Yeah, so you got a silver coin for it and a bath.
Yeah, look, I paid good money for that coin, and you're telling me now I can't use it to pay this kid so I can give him a bath with beet towel soap?
Oh, come on. The government wants in on everything.
What, I can't just have a voluntary bath time with the neighbor kid? Nobody. I didn't ask anybody about the age of consent. I should have.
That would have been
That would have been
hilarious, dude.
I don't know what these guys would have said about it.
Some of the other guests would have had
but
some
opinions.
thoughts. Yeah.
I have a feeling that quite a few of the men there have children chained up in their basement right now.
I'm gonna write that a 10
Off
out
the
of 10.
road.
Oh, yeah.
Allegedly, I'm alleging. Is this how it works?
Yep. Yeah. I'm
so
not a lawyer.
when you make an allegation, you just say
Allegedly.
allegedly. A lot of the men at the Missouri Libertarian National Convention have children chained up in their basements right now. Allegedly. They get good baths, though. They got good soap.
They're clean. Yeah.
They
They
are
got a bunch of
clean
silver
kids.
coins.
Yeah.
They're minting the silver coins in the basement.
It's child labor.
They're shaving them off, dude. They're shaving all the silver out and they're fucking watering down the currency. They're creating inflation by dude. That's the other thing. The gold coins are so dumb, dude. The world used to have gold coins. We already did this,
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what people did, dude? They devalued the currency by melting it all down and taking all of the gold out and making more coins. Because they're gold. You can just melt it down and you can forge a new coin
Or some Dookie gold chains.
Yeah, and you can make it into something different. And you can make like less pure coins, but then you can have more of them. And it literally, dude, like go read a history book about gold and how bad it got.
Well, isn't
during
that-
the Roman Empire? I hate to bring this up, dude. I hate having to bring up the Roman Empire, but their currency the inflation got out of control because they were all the like elites were they were melting gold coins and minting their own gold coins.
Wasn't that the thing that's why it was like people would like bite coins, and if the coin bent, it was not real gold, so they were like, this is not valid currency?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the
Dude,
thing. Yeah?
yes, exactly. That's why Ed and Eddie were doing it in the cartoon.
Is that where
as
I got
well.
that from?
Yeah.
I was just like, you're like
Yes.
history books, and I'm
Yes.
like Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw it on Ed and Eddie. Maybe you saw it in a book.
Yeah, I don't remember when they did that episode where they like poured hot live gold down the emperor's throat or whatever. What's that? Like the Spanish dude? Was it in South? Jake, you would know what I'm talking about.
Are you talking about? You're talking about a real person, right?
Yes. An actual.
Oh, dude, that was.
They poured gold down his throat?
Yeah, they poured gold down a guy's throat. They did that to a bunch of people. That's happened a lot of times.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that happened
Who
in
is
Game
it?
of Thrones.
It happened in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, the most famously associated Roman figures, Manus Aquilus and Marcus Linus Crassus. So
yes,
Roman
Crassus,
dudes.
dude. Okay, so Crassus was one of the richest men in Rome, and he formed the first triumvirate with Caesar and Pompey. Pompeius, whatever the fuck his name is.
Pompey, I think is.
No,
no.
Pompeius was his name, but they called him Pompey. I'm sure of it. They were like,
Like-
Pompey.
I was going to say, like was he Latino? They're like, oh, come on, Poppy, bring it here.
Well, no, they were all three sort of like controlled Rome at a certain time, and a lot of people would argue because Caesar was a populist, and these other guys were just sort of rich dudes who wanted to be in control.
Heard of that
And
before.
they killed Crassus by pouring gold down his throat because he was a super rich guy. He was like the richest person in the world at the time. And they had a lot of clients. He had a lot of clients. That's how the Roman Empire worked. But anyways, all that to say, dude, that guy was probably like faking his, like he was also had his own mints. Like, because that's how it would work. If you were wealthy, you would like create a mint and own a mint. and then that way you could mint gold coins, and they would devalue the currency by minting by making more that were impure because it's tied to the actual gold that's in the coin.
So does that mean, do you think rich people now have their own dollar machines low key in the darkness?
You know what? I don't think that they have.
No, they just exploit people for labor. At this
they
point.
just get it from others.
It's
They
capitalism,
just-
baby.
Yeah, why work harder and make it if you can just take it from
the
others?
government does it for them. The government just sort of funnels the money into their hands. They don't need to print the dollars because they can just
take them.
Yeah, be in charge of the people who are in charge of printing the dollars.
Yeah, they got smarter.
What's more powerful than owning the machine? Owning the people who own the machine.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
And what is a god to a non-believer?
Yeah, and that's why I want to pay this kid to let me give him a bath.
Let me give him a bath.
So it's like, why can't I give my neighbor kid a bath with tallow soap? Come on.
Being encroached with, a license or some kind of permission.
Yeah.
So in terms of the obedience, these sort of, default settings, I guess, that you could put it like that maybe is a way to put it that
so
people
good
get
at
into,
like
right?
that.
They need these rules, these things like that. What do you think is, for somebody who is maybe listening to this and doesn't know what the first step is, what do you think is like most important for somebody wanting to break out of that, to understand?
Wow. I think awareness is the first step. Awareness of your addiction or dependency, in this case, dependency on the rules, dependency on an institution to tell you what is right and wrong.
You're addicted to rules, dude.
Dude,
every April I'm like, let me do my taxes. I gotta fucking.
Yeah, I didn't know I was I didn't ever realize I was raised libertarian until I remembered how many of those no rules shirts I had. I was like, oh shit. Oh man. What a
I've been indoctrinated into this,
dude. But I'm trying to get to let's get to the end here where I asked this lady about her crystals, because I noticed that she had crystals around her neck. Okay, here, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And then one last question. I just noticed you got some crystals around your neck.
I do.
Can you talk about your crystals for a moment?
Well, I do have this. I bought from somebody who was selling. I hope that she wasn't trying to pay taxes on her little booth there. But this is some clear quartz, and then I have some other ones in this little ball. There's a moonstone and some rose quartz, and then I think some fluorite in there, and all that is for like feminine health energy and stuff like that. So I'm not real into like the whole woo woo, I guess, of crystals, but I do recognize that all matter is energy and that all matter has vibration, and these have actually been scientifically proven to have a certain vibration that can benefit your health. So.
She's like, I'm not into all the woo-woo stuff, but I'll do anything to have a clean pussy.
You should see the egg in my vagina right now, dude. It's made of topaz, and it's great. Oh, my God.
Let me tell you, the tallow soap does not make it smell very good. It turns out rubbing beef fat on your pussy doesn't equate for a good pH balance. So I turned to the crystals.
Dude.
Balance it out, dude. Yeah, I smell like a McDonald's at a gas station.
Dude, I you know what? Here's the thing. I want to say that joke was a little inappropriate, but God, I could not help myself. I mean, you're rubbing beef tallow on your pussy, lady.
Listen, it's your libertarian right to be able to joke about pH balances and beef tallow.
No, but dude, I did actually enjoy these people though, the most out of everyone we talked to, because I don't think that they were like I think that they were there for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I disagree with most of the stuff that they said.
There were a couple times where I feel like they said something that, like, we automatically clocked and we were like, we cannot laugh. We cannot laugh.
Dude,
like,
when she looked at me in my eyes and was like, and when I first started making the soap, I don't know what about this phrase when I first began making the soap was so funny to me in that moment, and I was like,
You locked in. You were like,
it's like, you made that soap.
yeah, you did.
Yeah, he mentioned something about masks in another part too. We kind of skipped over that.
Oh yeah, he was
but-
talking about how he wanted to be inviting to the Libertarian Party, but somebody walked in with a mask and was like, "Is it all right?" And he's like, "I wanted to laugh in their face, but I also need to be inclusive and welcome them in because we don't have very many people showing up to
Yeah.
anything."
And also, that's the thing about libertarianism is that he should be allowed to wear a mask if he wants to, right? Like,
Yeah. But also, dude, it is the sign that the sign of the fact that you are a fucking sheep and you are obedient to that guy. I mean, not to me, but that's so. Even though you're well within your right to wear it if you want to. I think that he would view it as you're a cuck.
which is ironic, right? Because he's like, you're being obedient, but then he's being obedient to his own thing, So there's it's a meta obedience thing, dude.
It turns out that we're all just
It's
doing
obedience all the way down.
doing the same thing. But yeah, man, that was those guys. They were kind of the funniest ones. So the next people, the next lady that we talked to is from this group that is called. She was there with this group called Lola, which Lola stands for the Ladies of Liberty Alliance, and they were she was there. This is kind of gets into what we were talking about last time, right? The Libertarian Party was taken over by the Mises Caucus on a national level and in a bunch of states. This lady is a libertarian who is anti-Mises. She doesn't like those guys because what they did is they basically made the entire party agnostic at best on the issue of abortion, and they also made the party more pro immigration regulations. And cracking down on immigration and stuff, right. And still in a libertarian way, because they're well, the people at the border can enforce their property rights, something not too far off. Ron Paul explaining why it's okay to shoot people,
right? Yeah, exactly.
You know?
No, it's not about immigration; it's about their land.
Yeah, it's about the land. But this lady was there with this program called Ladies of Liberty Alliance, and this is an organization for ladies who are libertarians, and they have a bunch of chapters. And you have to be a woman and you have to be a libertarian to be the leader of the chapter. Right. To start a chapter. Yeah, no, that's exactly what she said. You have to be a woman and a registered libertarian to be able to be the leader of a chapter, to start your own chapter, because they think that the Libertarian Party is ripe for the pickings, dude. Now, she did point out when we were talking to her that there were only 4 women there in the entire conference, and at least one of them, Brett, didn't you hear a lady be a husband being hey, thanks for hanging out all day at the convention?
Yeah, on their way out while we were waiting for I think their last interview to show up.
Yeah,
that's so.
Some
funny.
guy is telling his wife, "I appreciate you. Thanks for coming with me." You know what I mean? Yeah. So she's
sticking
not a member. So really, there's 3 ladies there. Maybe, probably
2.
Probably 2. Maybe just this lady. Maybe she's the only one. But she's there to kind of, I think, in her mind, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but represent this sort of alternative to what the Libertarian Party has become through this Mises takeover, which is a bunch of people left, right? We looked at that the last time. Their membership dropped pretty significantly in a lot of places because it turned people off. There are a lot of queer people who sort of were attracted to the Libertarian Party at some point in the past because they were oh, these guys believe in gay rights. It's Republicans that believe in gay rights at a certain point. And so there were some hangovers from that. Those people are all gone.
Yeah, sliced it out.
Any like person of color is
Right,
now
yeah.
like out, you know. So it's just all those Shrek head motherfuckers, dude. All these Ben Franklins. But I did talk to her, and she let us know. So her name is Olivia Hayes, and she mostly works in Kansas, in the Libertarian Party of Kansas. She's like the chair of something or other
in
for
Wichita
that
or
party.
somewhere.
Yeah, she's from Wichita. I think she maybe was like a state representative at one
or
point,
running for it,
or
at least.
running for it, or something. You know, it's really quite unimportant to me, because what is important is that she has a podcast.
Put my boy on, Lola or Olivia.
Yeah. At one point, Lola is the name of the organization.
Yeah, just call her Lola. That's you, right?
I don't think that I'm going to get invited to her podcast. I don't know that.
The interview didn't go well.
They don't have enough mics for. No, the interview is fine. Actually, I think that this lady, we talked about like fellow travelers last time. This lady, I identify with a lot of what she's. I feel, I don't want to like seem like condescending, but I do think that she is, her biggest problem is that she hasn't woken up to class politics yet and can't see that these guys are not necessarily like a bug, but a feature of this.
Right.
Because in one of the first questions that I asked her was, she had this sign setting up that said something to the effect of like, women's rights aren't given, like women aren't given liberty by the state or whatever, like referring to that kind of stuff, or like women's autonomy isn't given by the state. And so I asked her, you know, what is it given by? And she said, you know, the same sort of libertarian thing. It's inherent.
Entitled, right?
It's inherent. You're born with it. And the problem with when we get into something like that is naturalized, because maybe a lot of libertarians wouldn't say that it's because it's given by God, right? But a lot of people will default to that.
Yeah, it's
they'll
very
say, well, I'm
weird.
Christian. It comes from God, because that's where
Right.
everything comes from. And that is the connection between libertarianism and this MAGA movement, right? Like, that's why it's actually makes sense that these things go together, because you're stipulating, if you're saying that these are just ordained by nature, like, you know, we live in a nation with a lot of Christians, like people think that nature is from God. And so
Right, yeah.
if you give people that, if you stipulate that, then of course they're going to start stipulating the other things that they believe in because it comes from
God.
On the basis of religion. And so that's why I don't think that this movement of towards women's liberty and liberation is something that could ever take place in the Libertarian Party. And so I think that she's mistaken for like this being the place where she's deciding to like fight this fight.
Yeah, she needs to read the Stepford Wives.
Yeah,
and wake up to reality.
Yeah. So I do have a sense of empathy for her though, because I do think that she means well. I don't think that she's like a lot of the other people that were at this place. I don't think that she is an operative of the Republican Party.
Right, yeah.
Would be how I would put it. And in fact, I bet that she probably gets accused by other people for being like a leftist, like whatever, you know, or like a democratic like influence on things. But I don't think that is what it is. But she has a podcast, The Mama Marketer.
Love it.
It's very millennial cringe, like. But one of the things that they do on there is called ICT, with it's like the letter I, the letter C, and then TEA, and it's just them spilling the tea on all of the stuff going on in libertarian politics. Brett, you thought that it had something to do with the Tea Party, but I don't think it does. And so I have a short clip to play first from that, which is right at the beginning of the podcast. They talk about how rare it is to get all three libertarian women in a room at the same time. This is, I think,
our husbands just won't allow it. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's that there's so few of them that they are like, it's difficult because they all like live so
far
dispersed
away,
across like such vast distances is how it sounds, at least.
That is why I'm a libertarian. Which I want to like pour one out for the fact that there are 3 libertarian women sitting in a room that are lucky enough to be in the same like area to where we can tackle these issues. Like I don't think that's huge, and it can if you're listening, it can happen in your area too. They're out there, I promise. So
what are the odds, dude? 3 libertarian women in the same area. Can you believe it?
Yeah, mathematically speaking. They're out there, but...
It's so fucking funny, dude. So that kind of cracked me up. I had to play that. So that just gives you... she's at least aware of the fucking uphill battle that is being a woman in libertarianism. I'm sure that she's more aware of it than anybody. But here's another clip from the podcast. And this is her talking about the Mises caucus in the Kansas Libertarian Party, where apparently she was able to get all of these Mises people that they could at the time voted out of leadership of the Libertarian Party of Kansas.
I can't wait for you to talk about how convention was last weekend.
yes, oh my gosh. Okay, happy to share. So yeah, the Libertarian Party of Kansas gathered for our annual state convention. It is a really important time. It's the one time a year when we all gather together. We elect leadership. We go over any platform or bylaw changes that we need to make, any special resolutions. I mean, we really just... it's the one time we meet to take care of party business, right? So the stakes couldn't have been higher this year. I mean, I think anybody that's been around for any amount of time, I mean, I don't know if we've spoken on this podcast before, but you can Google it and see about the Mises caucus infiltrating the Libertarian Party, and the messaging you see out there that makes you scratch your head that you're like, hey, that kind of sounds like MAGA. That was the Mises Party infiltrating. Yep. And so they took over our party and had taken over our party for a couple of years, and it has been a fight. It has been emotional and it has been difficult. But coming right out of the presidential campaign, the group that was around our candidate Chase Oliver didn't go away. They dug right back in, and they were helping states organize and figure out how to get their parties back from this leadership, right? So I've been working on this since November. I've been making calls and trying to see like who's interested in leadership, who can actually show, just seeing, like she said, being a whip, basically, like just seeing who we can get in the room and what we can do. And we basically got everything that we wanted. We don't have a single Mises person in leadership in the Libertarian Party of Kansas at this point. Yes. So we have non-Mises leadership. I think pretty much at there's maybe one that was there before, like they weren't up for election this year, but every election that we could vote for, we voted for chair in 3 districts. And then our entire judicial committee, I'm happy to report, both Faith and Stephanie were able to, Faith was a returning member to the judicial committee, and Stephanie is a new member to the judicial committee. And judicial committee is basically if anyone has issues with X, I can't tell you we had to fight. Like it wasn't easy. We had to make sure that, we had to brush up on our Robert's rules. We had to do all the things that my anarchist friends hate. We had to do a really good job
all
at
the
that.
Anarchists in the
but it was successful, and just the emotion I felt afterward.
But yeah, that's just her talking about it a little bit. So you can tell that this lady is like not necessarily that much alike these other people. She's a little different. And so she's there to her goals are separate from this. And here's we talked to this lady at the place. So here she is.
I also have a podcast, and we just recently adjusted it to where it's me and 2 friends that are I'll plug it, but all 3 girls just talking about libertarian issues, which like 3 women talking libertarian issues. That just doesn't happen. So it's really exciting. But I had been doing it for a long time by myself, and then I think we hit a sweet spot where people are like, what do chicks think about this? So
well, can you answer that for us? What do chicks think about this?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so females I think are largely underrepresented in all political movements, but especially like your more fringe political movements like the Libertarian Party. So yeah, there's endless amounts of opportunity for us to have our voice heard. And I'm here today with the Ladies of Liberty Alliance, and that's part of something that we are working towards. It's an international organization that's technically nonpartisan, but with deep roots in libertarianism. And so, yeah, we're just trying to help women get out in their community and get more familiar with like libertarian basics and economics basics.
Except for you do have to be partisan.
Some of them it's like talking at events like today, and others of them it's like approaching city council, approaching their zoning people, appealing their taxes, like that type of thing. So, yeah, I am having a lot of fun with it. I've been really involved with my Libertarian Party in Kansas, my state party. I've been involved with them for a long time. I do their marketing and advertising, and so
that's where the mama marketer part comes in.
The last 6 months or so to focus on Lola. In addition to party politics, Lola is definitely funner than running a state party. So
I did want to ask you about the sign. And speaking of libertarian basics, I feel like this might be a good setup for you then. Your sign, I might be paraphrasing, maybe not exactly correct, but it says something to the effect of women's freedom does not come from the state, right? Yeah. If it doesn't come from the state, where does it come from?
So it really goes with the idea of like your freedoms are inherent. Your freedoms don't exist because like a person signed a paper somewhere and said that you have them. Like you have
just
freedoms
born
as a person. You have autonomy as a person.
You were born
famous libertarian.
You were born to make this
granting it to us isn't really a thing. They're only trying to aggressively.
That child was born to be bathed by
that,
me.
and men.
God wants you
to
make some
soap. Can stand in that.
Call the kid next door. Get him over.
Hezekiah 4:17 says,
before coming here,
God
obviously.
said onto 3 silver pieces, there
I'm
will
not
be
like
soap.
a genius.
Dude. Yeah, we talked over her, but you get it. I mean, it's pretty easy to understand. She is,
honestly, she seems pretty level-headed.
She's very level-headed. You know, the thing that me and this lady probably heavily would disagree on is that I think we should all work in really nice factories. I think we should all work in really nice factories where there's no boss and we all own it, and it's really nice to go there.
And we like it.
You only work a couple hours a day, maybe, because we're all working there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you're just doing your turn?
And I get that might not be voluntary. I get that might not be, a very feel like a very free thing, but I bet that it would be a lot better than what we got going on right now.
I always say my most fascist belief is that I think everyone should be forced to work in the restaurant industry for at least a year.
Yeah, dude, it's like what they do with the IDF. They're like
Old Chicago Pizza needs you. So
that's like our equivalent of. They're like, okay, in Israel, you have to join a genocidal terrorist organization. And in America, you have to work at, you got to work at TGI Fridays. And bring a big white lady mozzarella sticks.
That were made wrong somehow.
Yeah. She's like, these don't taste right. And that's and that's her right, dude. Because she paid her silver coin. She paid her silver coin, okay? She paid her coin to get
my favorite part about going to Ruby Tuesdays is the bathing of children afterwards, you know?
Okay. What's this next question I ask her? Let's see.
Whatever, but I'm doing like cursory research, you know? I'm not like trying to fly in blind. And one of the things that I noticed is, you know, I've grown up in Kansas City my entire life, Missouri, Kansas. These states are full of people who, I think if they heard the message, would likely lean towards a Libertarian Party, right? But in the state of Missouri, no Libertarians are on the state legislature.
Neither in Kansas, we've never had one.
And so it's like, what? Why? And to be clear, I understand like duopoly, right? Like Democrat, Republican dominance.
Let me qualify that I don't want to hear about the whole
two parties
because it's not just that.
But what I'm asking specifically is, like, you'd think one win, you know?
Yeah. I have two schools of thoughts here. One, with your more traditional, a little bit older person, I think that it's quite literally like coming out. It really is. Like you talk about comedy. It is literally like you're...
She's like, you're basically gay. You got to tell your parents, hey, look, I want to pay the kid next door a silver coin so I can give him a bath.
I've been wanting to pay this kid a silver coin since I was a child.
Mom, Dad, sit down. This is going to be really hard for you guys to hear, but I bought a bunch of silver coins and I bought a bunch of tallow soap made out of beef tallow.
Tallow, whatever.
Beef tallow. Look, I'm going to pay the kid next door. So
it's going to happen.
And then I'm going to bathe him.
I think it's fucked up that I feel like I have to tell you that, because I should be pissed off that I have to tell you that. But
I hope you still love me as I am.
But I'm coming out. I'm a libertarian. I'm trying to give that kid a bath.
That's why libertarians are leaving. Your narrative for libertarianism is like you're gay, so you got to come out. They're like, ew, no, I don't want that. Dude.
Yeah.
I just wish she hit us with the, I have a gay friend, and they told me it was just as hard.
Yeah.
They came out twice.
Yeah. They said first I came out trans, and then I came out libertarian.
Coming out libertarian was way harder.
Way harder.
Yeah, dude. All those homeless libertarian kids. Dude, we should start a shelter for libertarian kids who get kicked out of their house by their parents.
That's why I don't buy
It's just
Bud
an empty
Light,
fucking shelter. I'm like, God, where are all the kids? I have all the tallow soap ready. I have all the silver coins and the tallow soap ready to go.
I love that this has bottled down the libertarian movement to just bathing children for silver dollars.
Well, I'm telling you what, man.
We're not far off with that.
Every single one of these guys is on a list somewhere. Allegedly. I'm alleging that all these guys are on a list somewhere. They're all, dude, either they're not allowed to fly on a plane. They're not allowed to go
300 feet within school.
Yeah, can't go to a school. They're not allowed to keep calling their wife and breathing really heavy.
They can't rent a car for some reason.
Their ex-wife. Sorry, I should have clarified.
Well, that went without being said.
Yeah. She's still my wife to me, damn it. Dude, it's like he paid a dowry to her dad, and like a silver coin dowry. He bought his wife from her dad.
Is that how dowries work?
Yeah, it's like
something
a gift
like
that comes with the bride.
Or the bride, the bride.
Yeah, you don't pay your father-in-law for the bride.
Well, you do if you're a libertarian.
Yeah,
because you're like,
okay, I'll allow.
Because you're like, here's some soap.
Well, yeah, you're also. I don't know, dude. Look, man,
it makes sense.
I'm not a fucking genius, Brett. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do, dude? Do you want me
to silver coin and beef tallow
every
soap
joke to make sense, dude, or do you want to start giving these boys baths?
We're missing the point. These boys need baths.
Look, Brett, you're getting hung up on the semantics of the deal, but I see a bunch of kids lined up outside who don't have silver coins and are dirty. Oh, Brett, you want to talk about the ideas. Well, all these kids need cleaned.
Yeah,
Who's going to do
dirty
it?
boys everywhere. Angels with dirty faces, you know?
Look, I don't know why their parents need to know. I don't know why their parents need to know. Yeah, dude, that's what you tell the kid. You're like, look, your default settings are all fucked up, man. Your parents,
you went to too much public school.
Your parents, yeah, you went to too much public school. What are you gonna be obedient and tell your parents? Oh, the neighbor gave me a gold coin so he could give me a bath. Look, I'm just saying it's a slippery slope. If you can pay your kid to shovel a driveway, it's a slippery soap. It's
all that tallow in there.
Allegedly. That's what I'm alleging. Dude, one day this is all going to catch up to me. I'm going to get sued. I have no money. I'm going to get sued for fucking nothing.
For what? For the ownership of the podcast?
Yeah.
To be fair, we couldn't laugh at all while we were on the ground.
Dude,
So you're getting it out
tough.
now.
It was tough.
We were just like on the ride back, like, what the fuck did we get? Like, was that usable? And then we were recalling it. We were like, oh, this will be good.
Dude.
Yeah,
this will be good.
This is awesome,
sure, dude.
Dude, so this next guy that we're going to talk about, this guy was the sort of he was the last speaker of the conference. And this guy was by far the most MAGA-pilled guy.
We're stressed as
Dude,
well.
I think I really challenged this guy pretty decently here at the end of this, but he said some pretty wackadoo shit. We played this whole thing because we were going back and watching it, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna like clip out all the like parts where he said crazy shit. But then we realized like the entire thing, like he starts from a fucking 10, dude. And his speech, so I actually have some of his literature, because his entire speech was, his name is Paul Wamby. Paul Wimby.
Give that a show to the camera before you pass it off to Carlos.
We're gonna take some. We'll like maybe take some pics and post it. But he's big. He's talking about the Article 3 Institute. That's his shit. And this is a quote. I think that this is really important to read before we get to what he says in the interview, because it's going to absolutely 100% refute what this says here. So this is a quote from the Article 3 Institute. You can also find this on their homepage. It says that all political power is vested in and derived from the people, that all government of right originates from the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. And that's a direct quote from the Missouri Constitution, Article 1, Section 1. Pretty early in the Missouri Constitution. Not much before Article 1, Section 1. That's kind of the beginning. So this is clearly something that he cares about. And then in the bottom half, it says, the role of government is to protect our liberty. In order to assert our rights, acknowledge our duties, and proclaim the principles on which our government is founded, we declare that all constitutional government is intended to promote the general welfare of the people, that all persons have a natural right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and the enjoyment of the gains of their own industry. That's kind of important. That all persons are created equal and are entitled to equal rights and opportunity under the law, that to give security to these things is the principal office of government, and that when government does not confer the security, it fails its chief design. So that's Article 1, Section 2 of the Missouri Constitution. Just a little rundown on what this guy views as websites for good political views. That's on the back of this page. Websites for good political views. Carlos, you want to take a guess of a site that could be on here?
Oh, God, like Breitbart.
Wow, dude. Did you see it?
No.
Yeah, Breitbart is number 2.
Hell yeah, dude.
Right after John Combist, Combist.com. That's JONCOMBEST.
John's P. Diddy Combus?
Yeah, John, JOHN Combist.
Combest.
Yeah, COMBEST.com.
Oh,
and
God,
then, of course,
the
Article 3 Institute. Dude, the first pop-up is like, best ways to wash your neighbor.
It literally looks...
your neighbor, boy.
Best
Best ways to wash your neighbor.
They must have the same editor, because it also looks like a website that is just a Microsoft Word document.
Yeah,
that's
that is really funny,
dude. That's just a Google Doc, just...
Like, literally, I don't know if it... Like,
yeah, no, it does not change at all.
No, yeah.
So the important thing, though, is that Paul Hamby, that's his name. You can we should subscribe to this guy's news article. It has his phone number on here, dude. We got to call him.
It'd be like, Pat,
we got to call him. Paul, we heard that you've been bathing the boy next door and tallow soap.
We're out of silver coins.
Hey, Paul, this is John Smith, investigator for Child Protective Services, the state of Missouri. We're just calling because somebody has alleged
boys are
that
clean.
Yep, there's some mighty clean neighbor boys in your neighborhood, and
We don't recall you got a license for that.
Somebody is alleging that you've been giving them a wash. So just give me a call back. These boys.
I love that the CPS just be like, when you get a chance?
When you get a chance, give me a call, Paul. You know, we got to check these things out. Just because they talk to him
They have
so
a good
much.
relationship.
Yeah, they talk to him so much.
You know what they say.
They're like, Paul, they say you've been washing the boys again. Give me a call. But dude, here's our interview with Paul Hamby. Paul Hamby of the Article 3 Institute, or he just, I think, is a business owner. Like, he talked about being a business owner a bunch.
Oh, we can get into that after.
Yeah.
You touched on some stuff that I was curious about asking people here. Specifically, you talked about some legislative wins that maybe not libertarians specifically, but candidates.
This is another thing. So we talked about how these guys can't win a fucking race. They're a political party that can't win a race. This dude, half of his speech is about wins at the ballot box. And all of the wins at the ballot box either didn't take place in Missouri. Most of them are not. Well, none of them are libertarian candidates. They're all Republican candidates. So they had this guy go up and give a speech at the Libertarian Party convention where he's like, look at all the wins you guys have gotten by electing these Republicans.
Yeah, no, just flexing on them.
It's
like,
crazy.
These are the winners.
Yeah.
You guys haven't done shit.
Dude, but not even flexing on them, like gaslighting them. He's like literally gaslighting these people into being like, you guys are doing really good right now. As Rand Paul gets elected in Kentucky. Great job, guys. That's awesome. Good job, fellas.
Someone from the audience during his speech saying that did retort and say, but he ran as a Republican. Like, what the fuck, basically.
Yeah.
They're like, still a win.
Yeah, there are other people that were sort of similar mind to me, which, I mean, I don't have a dog in the race, dude. If I had my way, these people would all be... these people would
be in factories washing boys.
Yeah, it would be working in the tallow soap mines. But they I disagree with them. I don't want them to necessarily win, but I do think it is interesting, like the psychology of being like, well, I am winning still.
Right, yeah. That's my victory
it's
too.
Weird, yeah. And so that's what this question is about.
Who were for liberty, is I think how you put it, or something to that effect, right?
Right.
Had won, had legislative victories. Do you want to explain sort of how, in your view, how even though they might not be candidates from the Libertarian Party, it's still a win for the Libertarian Party? Just give everybody kind of an overview of that.
Sure. Well, the issues are not partisan. Mm-hmm. So when you're dealing with liberty, it doesn't matter if you're Libertarian, Democrat, or Republican. If it's an issue you believe in, it's nonpartisan. So gold and silver to become legal tender. Of course, from the Libertarian standpoint, we've been critical of the monetary policy of the United States for many, many years. Mm-hmm. Ron Paul famously tried to get the Federal Reserve audited many, many times. Ironically, we had enough co-sponsors of his audit the Fed bill for it to pass. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let it come to the floor for a vote. Mm-hmm. That was when John Boehner was in charge. But paper money is fiat money, meaning that it's not backed by anything. Mm-hmm. Gold and silver obviously is, and gold has basically the same value today as it did in 1913 when the paper dollar was created, but the paper dollar has lost 95% of its value. So by passing a gold and silver bill, it sends a message that people can use their real assets to pay their bills, and that our legislators...
He's talking about specifically right now, just to interrupt him, he's talking about the fact that in 2025, Missouri HB 754 made gold and silver legal tender in Missouri. So this whole paying the neighbor kid a silver coin to scrub him down, it's actually not all that far-fetched.
Right, then
anymore.
we're halfway there.
And actually, probably Ned and Mary would be pissed off because, dude, you just made it so that these transactions can now be
tracked and
can be regulated by the state. So way to go, asshole. You think that's a fucking win, dude?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a win for the Libertarians.
Yeah. Wait until the line of boys outside your door starts dwindling, Paul.
When the government taxes you for all the baths you've been given.
Like a year and a half from now, he's like, man, my friends at CPS never call me anymore.
I keep
no matter
bathing
what
the
stripe
boys.
they got elected under.
Sorry, dude. I didn't mean to play him over your shirt. I have to be a better podcast host.
To pay their bills, and that our legislators, no matter what stripe they got elected under, believe in getting rid of, or an alternative at least to the fiat dollars.
Okay. Just to back up to something that you just mentioned, so you mentioned currently the American dollar, fiat currency, not backed by anything. That's true, of course. You also said that gold and silver is backed by something. I was wondering if you could explain what gold and silver is backed by that maybe doesn't translate to the dollar.
Well, gold and silver, let's just say that we used a gallon of gasoline, or if we go way back, a bushel of wheat. So, or a loaf of bread.
Say a bushel of weed?
No.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, we're gonna get, well, we can go back to the 1930s for that, couldn't we? But yeah. So when you compare gold to other commodities, it has held its value. But when you compare the paper dollar to other commodities, it's lost virtually all of its value since 1913, which is when the paper dollar, the current dollar, was created.
Okay. So, but what about gold makes it sustain its value the way that maybe fiat currency doesn't? I guess I'm trying to think of other things that maybe have lost their value. But what is it about gold and silver that makes it retain that value?
Well, because it's a hard asset. If you have a lump of gold or gold coins, they're not going to go away. You know, it's a stable asset.
But the dollar will.
The paper dollar.
Dude, no, exactly. They're both physical things, dude.
Right, yeah.
They are both physical things. What I was trying to get him to at least allude to or whatever, and the reason why these guys all love Bitcoin or, like these alternative things is because all of these things are actually only worth what we all decide they are, like, collectively worth.
Right, yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, it's the same thing with gold. If people woke up tomorrow and they were like, if everybody generationally down the line, they're like, gold is no longer something that people seek out. It's just not, people are somehow less materialistic, whatever. Right. It's not the way that it had been before. Like, we wouldn't be like, well, the value of gold has crashed or whatever, like, because the value was already just like, I mean, people would be saying that, but it's not the same as or it's not any different than the dollar.
Right.
It's not any different than cryptocurrency.
Value is arbitrary anyways, right?
It's all based off of a belief that we have in these things.
Yeah.
And not and not some sort of magical quality of the object itself. That's what's so weird about these guys is like they're literally, it's like they are tricked by shiny objects. Like they're attracted to like if you like shine a little coin in the light and it glistens, they're like, ooh, ooh.
It turns a 50-year-old woman into a diamond hands queen.
Yeah, dude.
Hodl.
Yeah, hodl.
It's just paper. There's literally nothing there. I don't know if they ever did
There's
open
literally
the
nothing
Fort Knox, but there's the speculation that there's nothing there. But our paper dollar hasn't been backed by gold since 1973 or something like that.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. So and that is also what allowed inflation to happen, because if you have gold and let's say that it is worth a bushel of wheat, however we're going to spell that, then in 5 years it's still worth that. Yeah. But the paper dollar is losing value every month or every year, and so because of inflation, in 5 years you can't buy nearly as much with your $20 bill. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering that. I want to transition to another thing that you talked about. which I've asked some of the other speakers about this today as well.
Here we go, dude. This
so
is when this
in
guy
Missouri,
reveals
we
his
just
true colors. I
last
asked him
year
about
there were
the
2 ballot
laws
initiatives
in
that
Missouri
amended the
that
Constitution. I believe you had referenced
why
them. I don't remember the
legislators are
exact numbers
overturning.
of the initiatives, but one of them was for minimum wage and paid sick leave. Proposition A. And then the other one was in regards to abortion, right? Okay, Amendment 3. So in terms of those initiatives where it sits now, my understanding is the state legislature is now going through the process to, I think for the sick leave and the minimum wage, they have successfully passed a bill to stop that from happening for at least now.
Let's talk about that one first.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So Proposition A was a change to statute, not to the Constitution.
Okay, gotcha.
And the
He's ready to
legislature can then
explain
go
why it's all
revise
fine.
the statute without a vote of the people. So Proposition A was the bill to raise minimum wage and to force or mandate sick leave. Right. So what the legislature passed was they removed the mandate for sick leave. I don't think they touched the minimum wage.
The minimum wage is still
Right,
there. Okay.
Right. And so even though I rarely agree with our folks on the Democrat side of the aisle, they allowed this to go through because they got to keep the raise of minimum wage, the Democrat senators, and allowed the removal of the mandate on sick leave. And as I stated earlier, I don't think that it's the citizens' role or the role of our legislators to mandate to a private business the terms of a contract between an employee and an employer. That should be between those two.
The important thing about what this guy is saying is because, and this is why understanding the ideology is important, because this underpins the entire thing, right? So even if you're somebody who maybe you listen to one of these people talk about, like I mean, dude, when we were there, this guy is talking about the baseball stadium, the first guy, Patrick Toohey, and he's talking about how it's bad policy, all this stuff. His conclusions are the same as mine, right? They're the same conclusions, but what comes after the conclusions? Well, this is bad policy, and so we should do this instead. This is the dangerous part, right? This is why understanding what underpins these people's ideology is important. They believe that nobody should be allowed to tell somebody how to do business, whether it be between a business and a worker, or a business and another business, or a business and the community. The business always takes precedent over every other institution of society, whether it be community, whether it be individual. So and they get there by this sort of innate reasoning that you have this right to property and the fruits of your property, as it were, and it's ordained by God. And so even though this guy went up there and talked about all of these Republicans and stuff like that, I still think that the reason why this guy is here speaking at the Libertarian Party is because he represents what the core of the Libertarian Party is, which is these old white bosses. That's who they are. They're the old white bosses that don't want, they view it as core to their survival to like not have their sort of property rights impinged, because they know that is the only thing that is keeping them in their position of power and able to sort of exert onto all of us the labor, their will, and their and like ultimately like force us to labor for them so that they can live high on the hog. That's what it is.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what underpins the entire libertarian ideology. Like that is like property rights are core to it, and property rights are also core to like maintaining the oligarchy that we currently live under today. And so that's why even if some of the things that these people say sounds like it's attractive or would maybe like align with you, that's why you have to understand the ideology of like what it is and how they get there, because they're probably not getting there the same way that you are, right? Like,
yeah, no, to them it's about maintaining a status quo of power in which no one else can supersede them, right?
And that's why this guy is the headlining speaker of the whole fucking shebang, dude. Is because that is like ultimately like what these people believe. Whether they are willing to accept that or not is I think like this guy clearly is.
He is an old white business owner.
Yeah, he's mask off for sure.
And you're gonna hear him talk about like, you know, the only thing that's libertarian about this guy are his economics, and everything else, social values, all that shit. He's a conservative. He's a complete conservative. And so it's like, yeah, dude, you might be out here like being like, yeah, I'm a libertarian or whatever, but he wants to oppress people. That's like what he wants to do.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
It's about subjugation, dude.
Yeah,
Yes.
he talks about it with the abortion amendment, which is coming up. But I left the part in about the sick leave and minimum wage because he explained it in very plain language what is so fucked up about these people.
Right.
I was like, wow.
Without realizing.
Wow. Oh, and this was also the guy who said that the architecture was incredible. Fucking idiot.
Good taste, brother. Fuck
yeah,
you,
nice
dude.
one, dumbass. You like fucking
fake wood.
It's like all the fucking.
It just accents on the actual structures.
Yeah,
like they're like.
Dude, there are these things hanging on the wall behind us that look like gold coins, and he's rock hard.
That's how they pay for the hotel, yeah.
Private contract for work. And when the legislators or the citizens through the ballot make a change, then I think that's not the proper role of government. Mm-hmm. But there's also another issue. The Constitution says that a law is supposed to be one subject. Well, that Proposition A was 2. So were the people just voting for a raise in minimum wage and didn't care about the other or didn't know about the other, or vice versa? We don't really know what the voter had in mind when they voted for Proposition A, because it's 2 subjects.
So in other words, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're saying that there's a chance that the proposition was too confusing for voters.
Absolutely it was. It was absolutely confusing, but I think some people would just vote for one thing or the other and not care about or not know about the other. And
it's insane.
In my view, I'm not a lawyer, but
he's like, well, let me tell you something. I spend a lot of time around boys from the community. And when I talk to them about paid leave and sick time, they
don't understand it, you know?
Yeah, they don't get it. They just say, can you get that spot on my back?
But sir, I poop from there, yeah. No, you need to cut that. That's too far.
He's like, oh, the architecture in here. It reminds me of the garage where I wash the boys.
Be unconstitutional because it was not a single subject bill.
So I think that it you know, I'm not an expert on the Missouri State Constitution. You probably know more about it than me. I'm sure it is unconstitutional to have a bill that has multiple subjects stipulate that. Don't you think that it's somewhat problematic? I mean, this is a political party, right? We're here to, you know, figure out how we're going to get elected, how we're going to get these wins like the ones that we talked about before. Doesn't it become an issue when you have to go to the voters and say, hey, listen, we don't want the things that you guys clearly, I mean, in the case of the paid sick leave and the minimum wage, maybe you're right, maybe they didn't. But the abortion, I think that people pretty clearly knew what they were voting for there. So don't you view it as an issue? Like, don't you view it as an issue for the party in terms of electoral politics to sort of be so willing to
I was pretty
subvert
high.
what a broad majority of people want?
Well, that's not a simple question.
Yeah.
Because
no, it isn't. I was very long
the
with
Amendment
it.
3, the abortion issue, also was a multi-subject bill. It wasn't just a simple black and white bill. There were multiple subjects.
What were the other subjects?
Well, one of them had to do with gender transitions.
Okay. What did it say about that?
And I don't remember the details, but I know that was part of it, and ages and things like that.
He's like, look, man, I was reading it. It got all wet from the.
I also was really high.
Mine got stained with tallow soap. And
I missed that part. Yeah.
Look, I could have sworn it said trans, but maybe it just said tallow.
Trans fat because it was the
trans fat.
I was opposed to Amendment 3, so I didn't study it real hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, in fact, vote against it.
I was opposed to it. I didn't study it.
But the legislators, and they did, in fact, pass, or they're putting back on the ballot a revised version of Amendment 3 with simple language that everybody that votes for it will know what they're voting for. So they couldn't because it was a constitutional change. They can't nullify it.
You think it's
but they put it back on the ballot
and,
so that the voters know exactly and they'll find out. But we also have the issue that only...
Just 1 second, sorry. Don't you think that could be, people could perceive that as them wanting to have a redo because they lost?
Well, absolutely could be viewed that way.
Do you think that it is that?
Well, there's 163 House members and 34 senators, so maybe some of them yes and some of them no. But my friend Mike Moon is the most pro-life. He voted no. So not everybody had that feeling. But he voted no because he didn't think that what they put on the ballot was strong enough. So
I guess I don't think that it necessarily addresses, though, like the central question, right, which is, the Libertarian Party of Missouri, for better or for worse, can't get a candidate that is a Libertarian Party candidate elected to the state legislature. And in my view, I think that, the state of Missouri, I was born and raised in Kansas City, even in Kansas City. I feel like I know a lot of people who self-identify as libertarians. Now, they might not be true libertarians, maybe believe them to be.
no, I think that liberty as a concept, which is the heart of the Libertarian Party's philosophy, is very popular.
Yeah.
I think across all the spectrum, I think the majority of Democrats, a huge majority of Republicans, and obviously all the folks here in the Libertarian Party and the Constitution Party, it's a very common theme. I think the biggest enemy of the Libertarian Party is the two parties work together to make it almost impossible for them to win elections.
Sure. You're looking at somebody I'm an independent, right? I have nothing but disdain for the Republican and the Democratic Party, I can assure you that. I just, I am interested in third parties, and I am interested in, other political sort of movements outside of those two parties. But I also think that, I think that because I guess here's my next question. This will maybe help me understand a little bit better. What is your reasoning for voting no on Amendment 3? And for the new bill that's going to have simpler language, do you plan on voting for abortion rights, or are you still against?
Life, so I will vote no. Yeah.
And as a libertarian, is there, what's your perspective on that from a libertarian perspective on abortion rights?
Liberty.
Get him, boy.
I feel like most libertarians, not all of them, of course, but there's a lot of libertarians that are pro-abortion. What would you say to them?
I don't think that there's very many libertarians that I know that are pro-abortion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are agnostic. They think that it's none of my business.
Yeah.
But I have the same view as Ron Paul and Rand Paul, who are both doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Paul was a pediatrician and delivered 3,000 babies. Mm-hmm. And Senator Mike Moon, the same way. We all four of us, are pro-life, meaning that we believe life begins at conception. Mm-hmm. And that's our sole reason.
So they're fucking stupid.
Fair enough.
There's nothing political about it.
There's no actual reason, other I think that life begins at conception. It's liberty for me and not for thee.
Exactly, dude.
So that was kind of that was really the theme of the whole thing, dude, is these guys are sort of silly little weirdos, and they show up to this place, and they mostly just like, I don't know, they're like spinning their wheels. They're not really doing anything. They're not
pontificating with each other.
They're getting their soap, re-upping on the soap.
Bedding some boys. You know how it is.
It is just, it's like so weird to me that a lot of these people are just like seemingly ambivalent. It's like, why are you guys even coming here? You know what I mean? And I think that maybe it's just because they're bored, like they're old and bored, and they don't have anything better to do. And they, at one point, I think that they really thought that they were like different than everybody else, you know?
They're like, oh, I'm special.
They thought that they were special. They thought that they were different than everybody else. But in reality, they're just the same. They're old, they're white, and they're bored. And so they're showing up to a meeting to be like, we should fucking... Come on, let us pay with gold coins, or like, you know.
That's what, because they were bored. They probably tried to do something because they were bored, and then the government was like, "No, you can't bathe children for silver coins." And they were like, "You know what? I'm gonna start my own party, and we're gonna."
Yeah, no, they were bored, and then the government came along and said those videos are illegal, and then they put them in jail, and then they got out, and they were like, "Well, I'm never letting that happen to me again. All my video, I'm going analog. Gold coins, silver coins only.
Bury my tapes in the backyard.
Yeah, no tapes, just baths, just soap and kids."
We should run as libertarians on a platform of soap and kids.
Yeah, soap up those kids.
Soap them up.
Dude, this is fucked for the algorithm, but that's what these guys do. They fucking... They're little sick, little twisted guys. They love shoving it down your throat too. God, it's so fucking annoying.
I love the idea of someone being like, the government shouldn't be involved, so I'm gonna get involved. In government.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, look, I mean, I don't think the government should be telling anybody what to do, except for that lady. Except for that lady.
And her
Look,
body,
once the kid's out, the kid should be able to do whatever he wants. I mean,
get soaped up from wherever he wants.
Exactly. He can come over to my place. I'll give him a silver coin.
I have a dream.
He doesn't.
Where kids will be soaped up.
He doesn't have to tell his parents.
They don't need to know, dude.
He doesn't have to. He asked me if he should. I said, "Why are you being so obedient?"
Think for yourself, dude. Do your own research, right?
Why are you going to public school? They're brainwashing you.
No, dude.
Yeah, dude. Take your kids out of public school. Send them to my school.
They get free baths.
The Tallow Institute.
Tallow Institute.
Tallow University.
Oh my god.
But yeah, man, that was our trip to the Missouri Libertarian Conference. I don't even think I'm gonna show a picture actually of
this guy. We interviewed him. He was allegedly in charge of the ordeal.
Yeah, he's pretty much. No, it's actually I'm gonna show him right here. He's the dude giving out the awards. It's
what, the petite red shirt guy?
Yeah. Well, what had happened is we were waiting for him, and Jake was like, "Oh, we're waiting on Dustin." And I was like, "Oh, is that the Tiger Woods shirt dude?" And we started like busting up laughing, and had to like be like, "No, keep our composure together."
He's wearing a red polo and calling him the Tiger Woods guy.
Yeah, no, he looks like he gets his clothes from Kevin Smith's dumpster. Like, why is
this
so
shirt is so big, dude. He's just like, I feel bad for making fun of him, but
2004 he would have fit right
with a
in.
shrink ray, but he kept all his clothes. You know?
No, he's a time traveler. He went to 2004. Said, "I love G Unit."
He looks like he does look like he's like two kids standing on top of each other in an adult outfit, like two kids piled up because
it's two short kids because he's not even that big.
Yeah, because the short sleeves, they're like 3/4 sleeves on him, dude. Dude, this is what happens if you let your kids get washed by the neighbor with tallow soap. But yeah, we interviewed him too, and he basically was like, because we were asking him, we're like, where's all the ladies? Where are all the black people?
Where the hoes at?
Yeah, and he was like, well, we don't know. I mean, it's tough to say.
Keep inviting
Yeah,
them.
I mean, we could probably be doing a better job on social media or something like that, like something to that.
I don't think it's social media.
All people were talking about, like when we were asking them that, said social media. I heard 0 people say grassroots.
Yeah.
Right, like community.
Well, I think the reality is that these ideas are not as popular as they believe them to be. And that's why there's only fucking 10 guys who look like Ben Franklin showing up every year. Like that's really it. Like I hope that, I hope that a lot of those people die. I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but it's just time to go. Sometimes it's time to go, dude.
Just the Thanos snap.
When you're like sitting there looking at a bunch of fucking moose antlers on a chandelier and being like, this architecture is beautiful. It's your time, dude. Like it's literally like a Love's truck stop. It's not the fucking Sistine Chapel. Or something, dude. He's like, we brought my daughter came here and she thought it was lovely.
She's from California.
She's from California, yeah.
She's got taste.
Yeah, she's got taste.
Real artsy type living in a blue state, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I love the doorways. The giant logs of wood in the doors. But yeah, they're pathetic, and they're pathetic.
They're gonna be looking for this episode. Oh, I don't know if we saw that on. We just were very upfront that we were Jakin Off.
Yeah,
we saw
yeah. At no point dude. The only person who said it was the Koch brothers shill guy at the beginning. He was like, "Oh, maybe lead with that." And I was like, yeah, dude, I mean, shut the fuck up. I was like, be on my podcast, bitch.
Yeah, we're on Jakin Off, dude.
You and your Jordan Peterson suit, get outside. Come on. We're going to interview you for Jakin Off. You want to reach these young kids, dude.
That's how you get there, dude.
Yeah, we have a young audience.
And they're dirty.
Yeah. And we're telling them, we're saying, stay away from your neighbors. If anybody offers you a silver coin, run away.
Yeah, just call CPS.
Yeah.
Ask for Paul.
If somebody tells you to go to article3.org, don't. Run away from those people. There's no candy in the van.
No candy.
There's beef in the soap.
Mom, I got some weird Halloween candy. It's a bar of beef tallow soap.
Yeah, dude.
Stay away from that house.
Yeah. In fact, the only people who should be allowed to pay kids with silver coins are Ned and Mary Kelly, probably.
No
only to
pirates.
shovel their driveways. Yeah, no pirates. No pirates are allowed.
No classical doubloons or
certainly not Paul Bambi or whatever his name. Paul Hamby.
Yeah.
But that's the end of the episode, dude. We did it. We went to the Libertarian Party Convention, and all I got was this silly podcast episode.
This is the highest production episode Jakin Off
for
has
sure.
done.
Yeah. No, I can tell, dude.
Of all time.
You guys shot on location?
Yeah,
that's not cheap.
Shot on location. Oh, the one thing that we did forget to mention is in between like 2 of the interviews, we went to Cracker Barrel for lunch,
as one does.
Yeah,
because we showed up too late to eat the white people tacos.
Yeah, well, and
it was also good
I was
we
like,
got
dude,
away.
I'm not gonna fucking eat that, dude. Like, just all these unvaccinated people fucking coughing and spitting into the fucking taco meat.
Dude.
No
horse
thanks,
meat
man.
tacos.
Sorry, no thanks. Love you guys, but no thanks.
But the Cracker Barrel gave us new vision.
Yeah, but and also Cracker Barrel was basically the exact same. So it's kind of like we left without actually leaving, and that was pleasant. I would say that was like the best part. I had a country fried steak. Brett almost got ripped off for his biscuits and gravy. The lady didn't bring them to him at first, and he had to be like, excuse me, miss. Dude, he panicked. He was like, dude, I was supposed to have biscuits and gravy. There's supposed to be biscuits and gravy with this, dude. And I was like, oh, yeah, man. I mean, it looks like you didn't fucking get them. Like, I don't know. And he's like, I'm going to talk to her about it. And I'm like, okay.
I was so fucking hungry. I could not do another.
Brett couldn't handle it. He had been holding a camera up. He had been exploited by the Libertarians. They kept trying to give Brett a bath. They kept trying to wash Brett's hair in beef fat, and
like silver. He's like, no.
they're like, come on, we got a cool pool outside, Brett.
It's above ground. It's good. Yeah.
Do you know how much this gold coin is worth? Not very much. It's really small.
It's the same since 1913 at least.
It's old. It'll hold its value really well, just like these memories we're about to make. Now take off your clothes, Brett. Get the tallow soap. Warm up the tallow soap. But that's the end of the episode. Carlos, where can people find you? We got to quit talking about tallow soap. I'll never stop. This will be
you
a
can find me
recurring.
on agoragarden.com.
Agora Garden soaps.
I'm on Instagram, just Carlos Chamon, and then Fountain City Comedy Fest this October. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. There will be links in the description of this. And as always, you can follow this podcast at Jakin.Off.Podcast. And you can send anything at all to Jakin.Off.Podcast at gmail.com. I'll look at it at least once. That's the rules. So unless it's whatever Paul's doing to those boys. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly. I'm alleging it. But it's like, if it's clearly a joke, that I can't get in trouble for it, right?
It's a comedy podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a lawyer.
I feel like I've done enough
know.
groundwork leading up to this to know that I'm kidding allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, I'm kidding about what he's allegedly doing to those boys for the silver coin.
Silver coins.
But you could, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, and
hit the bell.
We'll love you. We'll love you forever. You'll be entered in to win. We're gonna do a giveaway. That's right. We're gonna give away, once we hit 500 subscribers, one lucky subscriber is gonna get a silver coin.
Yeah.
We're gonna mail you a silver Jakin.Off coin. I don't know how. I haven't worked out the details.
Kids to mint them for
I
us.
just thought about this right now. Like and subscribe for the silver Jakin.Off coin
soap.
giveaway.
Instead of thinking easier to get soap.
No, we're going to do a silver coin and soap. You're going to get tallow soap and a silver coin. And then you'll be able to have a real good time. You'll be able to somehow, dude, we just get Paul Hamby subscribes. He keeps making new accounts on YouTube and subscribing. Maybe we trim this last part out. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to this on YouTube. Jakin.Off.Podcast. Other than that, Brett, you got anything?
Just stay away from that beef tallow soap and those silver coins, kids. No good.
Yep, stay away from the soap, kids.
Stay away from the soap. Stay dirty.
That's it. Yeah, stay dirty. Don't wash. Don't wash nothing. I love you. Bye-bye.